like I said, this is just under about 3 minutes. This is a poet. I've never really been big into poetry, but I've heard a couple pieces, read a couple pieces that I've enjoyed, and this was one of them. This is apparently a brother who performed in what they're calling, I think it's called Charm City Slam this past June. And he introduces a new term. Well, it's not a new term, but he introduces a term that I think particularly applies to Black men in these spaces. As usual, when I play video, that might have some copyright issues, I just, I show the image. So fair use, though. I think I will share the link to this brother's live performance, or I should say just this poem. I don't know about if he did any more than this. So I will put this in the comment section, but I thought it was so powerful, I thought you should check it out. So this is Exulansis. Check this out.
EXULANSIS. Exulansis is a term defined as the act of resigning from or giving up on trying to explain something when you realize the people listening can't relate. The good book says my people perish for a lack of knowledge. And I think the hardest part is trying to figure out what's worse. People thinking they know so much they don't have to listen, or me not knowing enough to adequately explain. Either way, I believe that's the power of abuse. All the undefined evidence that questions its existence, or my existence questioning any evidence. I don't know what to call it. And even if I did, no one would let me call it that. And I don't know what's worse. I just know the first time she hit me, I was driving. She was yelling. I was pleading. She was throwing punches. I was ineffectively trying to block, bruised up my arm, broke my favorite bracelet off my wrist, and I don't know what to call it. I mean, I would call it physical abuse, but it was just my arm. And no one can relate to a mountain of a man whining about how violent crashing waves of water women will pierce and erode through their rough and jagged. They only ever acknowledge the rough and jagged. No one would let me call it that. They would call it, hey man, you big enough to get hit. Or they would call it, man, you too big to be getting hit. And I don't know what's worse. I just know the next time she hit me, she didn't like something I said and pushed me off a bar stool. I got up, she swung, I blocked, she grabs a knife, I fight it from her hands, hold her back, but she claims I put my hands on her, and I don't know what to call it. I mean, I would call it self-defense, but who would let me call it that? And I would call it domestic violence, but who committed the crime when people can only relate to predators when they are drenched in fangs and claws and toxic masculinity, but no one ever acknowledges the beasts that have cried to lure in their prey, and I don't know what's worse. I just know every time I tried to leave, she took everything. Cell phone, car keys, laptop, held me hostage to her hostility till I caved to her cries. I just know anything ever brought for my benefit was eventually used as a weapon or manipulation, and I don't know what's worse. I mean, I would call it financial abuse, but who's even ever heard of that? And no one can relate to that when societally men are only worth what they can provide, and I don't know what's worse. I just know that if my people perish for a lack of knowledge, then I die inside every time I try to explain something I can't name, because it's so much easier to see me as victim or a survivor when everybody would rather see me as blamed or belittled or a bitch for talking about this shit in the first place, and I don't know what's worse. I just know that's why I don't talk about it. Because people think they know so much they don't have to listen. And I don't know enough to adequately explain when I don't know what to call it, because no one would let me call it what the fuck it is, and I don't know what's worse. I just know that EXULANSIS, exulansis, is a term defined as the act of giving up from trying to... Hey, yo, nothing. Nothing, yo, never mind.
Yo, yeah, that was powerful. Shout out to that brother. Yeah, he's doing some good work there. I was feeling that too. Yeah, it hit me. That's why I had to share it with y'all. My brother was dropping it. And to those of you, to any of you that may be grappling with that, man, work your exit strategy out. Do not convince yourself that just because you had a good day, or maybe because she didn't act a certain way on a given day, that things are cool. Work your strategy out. For real, on how to exit out of that situation. This is why I started with peace and finding it. Part of your peace is who you around. And if anybody is bringing you toxicities, and if anybody is stressing you out, if anybody is exploiting your energy or sucking it dry every time they get a chance to, it's not worth it. Not worth it. work on your exit strategy. For real. Life is too short for this shit. And if you're convinced that you're staying for kids, this is a different era. This is not 40 years ago. You can establish a relationship with kids outside of a formal environment in that way. But if this is what they're experiencing, and kids are wise to it, kids can pick up toxicity, even the arguments you don't think they hear late at night. Trust me, they can hear it. They can hear enough of it to where it'll have an impact more than you want them to. So look, figure out your exit strategy and work it, whatever that may be, you know. So shout out to this brother for dropping a word. Let me know your thoughts about it, in the comment section. I hear pieces like this more frequently than I ever did, especially over a decade ago. I'm starting to hear more brothers coming forward, but there's still, ways that some come to the table much stronger than others. And this was powerful because this is the reality. And again, you actually have women that actually think it's their physical prowess that intimidates men. It's not what's going on. He knows in essence that if he snaps, or even if he responds in self-defense, right, his life is in question. His freedom is in question. His reputation is in question, right? His relationships with others, family and friends, is in question. I've known those who lost blood family members because of a false accusation from a woman they just met a few months ago, but they assume that she must be telling the truth simply because. So men have lost family behind false accusations. So I get how this can go. You can lose your career. She can falsely call your job, make up accusations. And I've seen men lose employment behind baseless accusations with no evidence. We all know these kind of things happen, but we allow it, we accept it. And even men will just tell you, suck it up. This is how it is. So the reality is, if you got somebody around you that is toxic, that does not give a damn about your well-being and is willing to sacrifice your freedom for whatever their reasons are, figure out your exit strategy and act on it. Life is too short. Shit. Anyway, shout out to this brother for dropping that powerful piece. All right.